Hi, I'm Christine from Floop. I get to help design Floop's feedback tools, but I'm also a middle school teacher. Working with my science students, I've noticed that they don't always come into my class knowing how to use the feedback I give them. Sometimes they get mad at my feedback, or sometimes they read it and don't use it to improve their learning or their work. After a lot of research, I've learned that every student, and actually every adult too, has to be taught something called feedback literacy. First, let's look at why we should care about feedback at all. Researchers in Australia looked at hundreds of studies about the way students learn. They found that feedback is the #1 driver of student learning. Yes, even more impactful than homework. But other researchers in the United Kingdom found that simply getting feedback isn't enough. Students also need to learn how to understand it and use it to learn. So what is feedback literacy? Feedback literacy is a set of skills that help you get the feedback you need, understand the feedback, and use it to learn. Often that feedback comes from your teacher, but over time you'll get more of that feedback from your peers and even from yourself. So how can you improve your feedback literacy? The first step of developing feedback literacy is to understand that feedback is emotional. Even for practiced adults, receiving feedback on work that we put a lot of effort into can be really hard. We can prepare ourselves to receive that feedback by remembering that feedback is intended to help us grow and improve. Your teacher may help you work on this mindset by modeling how tricky it is for them to receive feedback themselves. The second step to developing feedback literacy is to learn how to ask for the feedback you need. Asking open-ended but specific questions about your work will help you get the feedback you most need to improve. I also suggest that you ask your teacher for a rubric or project description so that you can focus on the criteria that are most important to the assignment. So here's an example. You might ask a classmate, hey, can you look at my paragraph and tell me whether I fully supported the claim with valid evidence, and then how I could make my argument more clear? This is a much better feedback question than, is my argument good? You can develop feedback literacy by giving feedback to others. The more you practice giving constructive feedback, the better you'll get at giving feedback to yourself while you work. A few feedback structures that I really like are, first, the I like, I wonder structure. Here's an example. I like how you used such descriptive vocabulary in your evidence section, and I wonder if you could strengthen your reasoning by adding more detail. Here's another one I love. It's called Evaluate, Suggest, and Celebrate. Here's an example. You have somewhat met the criteria for this assignment because you have a logical chain of reasoning. I suggest that you work on your evidence section by using data from the experiment. I would like to celebrate the scientific vocabulary you used. It was all accurate. Finally, you can develop feedback literacy by practicing the skill of using feedback to improve your learning and your work. Each piece of feedback that we receive is a suggestion. The quality of that feedback depends on who is giving it and how relevant it is to your learning and the task. When feedback comes from a trusted expert, in many cases that's your teacher, then you can rank it as higher quality than when it comes from, say, your younger sister. Secondly, when feedback is relevant to the assignment or learning task, it is more useful. So read each piece of feedback you received carefully and then decide whether to use it or to move on. By practicing these skills of seeking feedback, understanding your feedback, and learning how to use it to learn, you'll quickly improve your feedback literacy, and I bet you'll find that your learning and academic performance also improve along with it. So thanks, and from all of us at Floop, have a great school year.